Today's video, I'm going to be discussing the importance of managing your dopamine levels. What has your dopamine has your focus, and what has your focus has your future. Dopamine in itself is not such a bad thing. It's one of the things, the chemicals in our brains, a hormone that rewards us for doing certain things that in the past would have been a survival type of thing, like if you're hungry and you're out in the jungle and you find a mango and you eat the mango, finding the mango is a dopamine release because you're excited that you found food. Then when you bite into the mango, it's sweet and tasty. That's the dopamine rush. You're surviving at this point. You got to eat. Everything's good for the morning. Where dopamine becomes a bad thing is when we start using those little highs, those little rushes that we get in the moment, and we keep searching for that high, where if we're not getting those little highs, we start feeling those boredom-like feelings a child would. A big reason why social media and our cell phones has been a huge dopamine release to the point of addiction is because while we're scrolling on our phones and laughing and distracted while our lives pass us by and our purpose isn't being fulfilled, but it feels nice and funny. It's funny, so it's okay. Or maybe you saw a quote, but you can't do anything with that motivational quote because you're so distracted, and on and on and on. You just want to manage those dopamine rushes to where you're getting a little bit of that joy, a little bit of that escape for a little bit because you're working hard and life can be tough and it's nice to have a little something to escape too. But when you find yourself hours on end on these devices like video games and binge watching the same TV shows you saw 3 times, scrolling your cell phone for 3 hours, and you got 4 or 5 dopamine rushes going on at the same time, I guarantee the job you have and hate right now is going to be the job you have probably for the rest of your life or until you move on to another job that you dislike because it's not your purpose, it's not your calling, it's not fulfilling you. So you're going to have to keep finding these little dopamine rush distractions just to kind of sort of possibly make your life feel a little bit better. But deep down inside, you know things are getting worse, especially the older that you're getting. I know because I've been there. I'm partially there right now. So I'm getting out of all that. I can't discuss with you guys anything I myself haven't experienced. I'm just a lifelong student that tries to learn as much as I can of my own faults, of the things where I've gone wrong and where I've gone right, and how to keep growing from there. Because growth isn't easy. Bettering your life isn't easy. I've been on a 12-year growth journey, and in some regards I ended up back where I started. Now looking back, yeah, I've come a long way. I still got a long way to go. People 20 years younger than me right now are killing it. Doesn't mean their life is as perfect as it seems, but it would be nicer to be fulfilling my purpose a bit more. And that's what I aim to do right now. And these dopamine rushes, we're just focused on what it is we're doing at that moment, whether it's binge watching something on TV or whatever it is that distracts us. They're basically distractions. Good dopamine habits and activity usually is tougher to do, like exercising. You're going to get dopamine rushes when you feel good about yourself, but the process of working out, driving to the gym repetitively over and over again sometimes isn't the greatest thing to go do. But the results are great. Reading a book might not give you the biggest high of dopamine, but when you get a little bit smarter and you get out of some of your impoverished states, some of your impoverished ways of thinking, you get a huge dopamine rush when you're no longer that person that might be suffering from something so bad. For a lot of these people that make videos and do a lot of their content, it's not such an easy process, especially if you're starting out. And even when you have big teams of people helping you, it's not always an easy breezy, smooth sailing thing. It takes time. People, you got to edit. You got to think about what you're going to be filming. You got to think about your audience. You got to think about all these different things going on. And none of them within themselves is that much of a dopamine high. But if you could be consistent, as we see many people that are, they start getting some success, and that success they're getting, and then the value that they're adding to humanity, that's the dopamine rush right there. And those bigger dopamine rushes that come from things that take longer to do and that are harder to do, that cause more focus and brain matter being used, to the point of sometimes it not being such a fun thing to do, that's when you're going to get a good dopamine high in the end result, and the journey. When you're just focused on that quick high, doing a drug, smoking a cigarette, drinking a six-pack, hanging out with buddies, doing the same thing, laughing, distracting yourself, watching movies, watching shows, gambling, going to the whorehouse, whatever it is you're doing, getting these dopamine highs on, they're not really doing anything for your future. You get a smile and some excitement in the moment, but then the release of the outcome is usually not a very good high. It's actually quite the opposite. It becomes a nightmare for many people. I've been there too. That's one thing I've learned about just health and a healthy lifelong journey. Not everything in health is always fun and great. Having to sacrifice eating here and having to go do an extra session and workout there, or even being mindful of what you should and shouldn't be doing, you're not always having a great time. But when you go to sleep at night and you can sleep good, that feels nice. When you look at yourself in the mirror and you look better and feel better in your skin than 90% of the people on the planet, that's nice. When you're not bogged down with ailments, sickness, disease, in and out of pharmacy lines and hospitals and clinics, that feels nice. So it's a reward thing. The other things usually lead you into those places, hospitals, and quite often even jail. So if you ever find yourself bored and depressed and anxious, that's just your mind and trying to tell you need to get up off the tack and go do something else. There's not another video game, another clip on your social media feed that's going to bring you any more joy. If you're bored, you're like, oh man, I've been scrolling this all day, and now you can't, your eyeballs are twisted. It's not going to feel good, and it's not supposed to feel good. All of those things by themselves aren't bad. It's the dose that's the poison. And when you haven't fulfilled what it is you know you need to be doing, it's not going to feel good. That's a negative dopamine high from too much micro dopamine hits. Focus on the macro dopamine hit you're going to get by sacrificing, by working hard, by having grit, by doing the things that need to get done. Then you get reward, accolades, money, feeling good, contribution, those type of things. And then it just keeps encouraging you to do more. The opposite isn't very good with those micro dopamines that you can just basically get any moment of your life at ease. It's in the palm of your hands every moment. So we all know that we all fall susceptible to that. The distractions around us are so easy, and they're robbing us of our futures, robbing us of our fortunes, robbing us of our health, hijacking our brains, turning our minds into mush and putty for someone else to make it muddy. So don't let small dopamines ruin your life. Sacrifice. Get going what you need to do. Be consistent. Cheers to your health.